All right, so we're just going to jump straight into it. Chapter 1072 was fantastic, and we're going to jump straight into the main big chunk of the chapter. We're going to talk about Stussy, or a former Rocks pirate. I was not expecting that. So, this is crazy. Obviously, this is where we're going to get the proper Kaido backstory and Rock's backstory at some point. It feels like it's building up to this. I don't know when it's going to happen. Is Yamato going to come back into it? I mean, putting Yamato back into it would be an interesting story. As, he has that connection to Kaido, but also it would kind of be weird because, he just left the group. So it's like, what's going on here? But it's something to think about, definitely. Especially because with Stussy being revealed. But then also you could argue that with Stussy being revealed that is why, for example, we're not going to have Yamato show up for a while because we have Stussy, a Rocks pirate, who can relay all this Rocks information later on in the story and here now, which I am super excited for, personally. Right, I cannot wait for this. This is really exciting. There's a lot to do, and it's going to honestly be interesting to see how Rob Lucci deals with this, right? We have the one thing that doesn't make sense to me is we have here, right, that Kaku is fighting Zoro, and then all of a sudden it looks like he wraps around Stussy and she bites him. But no, now that I'm looking at it again, it's not that. She just bites him and he conks out. But I do wonder what's going to happen here. Like, does the actual, what's the name? What's the clone of Miss Buckingham? So like Buckingham Palace or whatever, yeah. So this is the first clone of Miss Buckingham. Will we have met Miss Buckingham before? Is this a name that I'm just forgetting? Or is it like, has this been mentioned? Has this name been mentioned in an SBS? Or have we met this person before and we don't know about it? Are they alive? Or are they dead? This is the interesting questions with this character, and I want to figure this stuff out. Now, saying that, the devil wings are quite interesting. That obviously has to do with devil fruits in some regard, because we see in the cover story, obviously the Mads cover story is probably going to build up to the creation of Stussy. That's where all this seems to be leading now that I'm looking at it, because we get like devil fruits, a devil fruit that Caesar's holding, which I'm going to assume is the one that this clone Stussy is going to have eventually. And we can also assume that that girl who was wearing the hat and was like this and looking down and we only saw the back of her is Miss Buckingham, and how they're going to handle that is very interesting, because we might see the cover story lead up to the reveal, and then in the story itself we'll get like Kuma backstory and Rock's backstory. I'm not expecting Rock's backstory this arc. I'm talking about it like we're going to get it. But if these are recurring antagonists and Stussy shows up a lot, Robin at least is going to find out about it, and we are going to hear about it on Elbath probably, combined with the Shanks backstory, because they're going to tie in together. That's kind of where I'm going with this, what I got from this chapter in my own viewpoint. Now, let's talk about some interesting shit besides that. Obviously, I talked about the cover story and how that was mental, right? That was insanity. I love how they're actually doing some good shit. We get Caesar and Judge on good terms, which is a big shock. But one thing I really liked was we're showing that Bonnie is actually competent. Because we didn't obviously it's against Vegapunk, so it doesn't necessarily count. But her abilities are a lot more fun and a lot more Gear 5 like than we would have initially expected. Because she's like morphing her body to different shapes. It's not just ages. She can morph her body to be like super buff, or she can morph her body to be like super thin, or like super large. And that's interesting because it's very Gear 5 like. It's very Luffy like. And she was introduced being very Luffy like on top of that. So having that connection there, where not only are they similar personality wise, or more so their love for food, but they're also similar devil fruit wise. They have similar abilities. That's what would make me even more interested to see what Bonnie can do when fully awakened. Because we see here, right, with Bonnie's fruit, the way she says it is like distorted future, right? So obviously it's like the way we were talking about, in the sense that Vegapunk said devil fruits are like a look into the future of humanity, right? This idea that we could have like Bonnie's fruit is it could be man-made to simulate the effects of devil fruits, where Bonnie can, instead of it being an aging fruit like we all think it is, it might be a fruit where she can simulate all different types of devil fruits, right? In a much dimmed down way, of course, because they don't want it to be super complicated so she can do a load of different stuff. But she might be able to turn her human body into various different things, in the sense of she might be able to do the wings thing that we have Stussy doing. She might be able to grow into a giant, doing, have these sorts of like potential futures for humanity combined into a fruit in a more simplified way. And maybe when it's awakened, it will be more powerful, but we might not get to see that. That's just what popped into my mind when I saw this. And I like Bonnie's sort of character development. We're obviously seeing a lot about her. This chapter actually hints a lot more about her past than you actually realize, because we talk about there being a tyrant and stuff in Kuma and stuff like that happening. And the way they talk in this chapter, because Bonnie specifically says when Vegapunk states that Kuma's power very well. All that's there is pain. She says, "Yes, I know my father's power all too well." Or I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's essentially what she says, right? And this is interesting because if we assume some coup happened or something happened where Kuma was viewed as a tyrant, his last act was probably to get Bonnie out of there, like out of Dodge, just like go, bye, get her out of there. So in her mind, it is a symbolization of pain, because that might be the last time she saw her dad before he was this mindless pacifista, right? So it's like it's a symbol of everything she hates right now, because she is literally, the last time she saw her dad, he was viewed as a tyrant, and he just gets her out of there away from him, so she never sees him again. And it might be an interesting thing where she might have been the one to come back to that kingdom as that old lady and build it back up again. And we might see that's what she did to help her people, but she did not feel fulfilled as her father was still away from her, and that pain still persisted. And it's a very interesting way to tie it in, because obviously they knew her at the Reverie when she was an old lady. So I really want to see where they go with that, because it's fascinating to me personally. I don't know about you, but I love it. Rob Lucci is constantly just interesting to me in a way, because he is such a, I don't know, he doesn't really seem to fit this arc, in the sense he's very stoic. He's a very Zoro-like opponent. He's very stoic, and I like it. I want to see him fight Zoro, because then we'll kind of see where Zoro's scaling is. Because realistically, I made a top 30 a while back, and I put Zoro at 18. I think he's a bit higher. I just had to put Shiryu above him, so he had to go below a certain place. But in my opinion, we've got to get to a point, like, if Zoro doesn't steamroll Lucci here, you could argue Seraphim and stuff like this, but if he doesn't steamroll Lucci here, what are we looking at? Like, are we up in Lucci, or are we down in Zoro? Because I had Lucci stronger than Zoro in my top 100 or top 30, which I don't really agree with anymore. I had it there because of this one tweet, and I was like, Sabo is equal to Lucci, and I was like, I understand that, bro. I kind of agree with that, and because I have Sabo so high, I put Lucci so high, plus the clash with Luffy. But then people were like, but he didn't use Haki once, so like, that's fair game, to be fair. But no, I do. Actually, one thing I really enjoyed about this chapter, outside of all that stuff we previously mentioned, was the absolutely fantastic dynamic between Brook and Zoro. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Brook and Zoro's dynamic is really cool, because we saw in Wano, right, Brook basically acted like a bodyguard for Robin, right, and a bodyguard for different characters here and there. Him and Frankie were chilling. Like, he pops around, he flies around and chills with each character of the Straw Hats for a while in an arc, and I've really started to enjoy that, because he just chills with each character for a bit, and he's like a bodyguard, a mini bodyguard. He's like a great British bodyguard with his little top hat, and it's really funny to me, because he has that place now where he's actually really reliable and no one realizes it, but Oda has him doing his little funny shit by just going around and interacting with the Straw Hats while we're in the middle of a fight or a war. And now the two major, like, bodyguard-ish characters in Brook and Zoro are having their dynamic, and you just see Zoro looking real serious and Brook looking like, ha ha ha, what are we about to do? Ho ho ho, you know what I mean? And that stuff is like, I love that stuff right now. Can I get the clip up real quick? My goddamn fucking arrow's not working very well. Where is it? Yeah, but like, this dynamic they show here in this panel is just really, really interesting, and I love to see it. Also, there seems to be, right, we're gonna get that Hawkeye, or Baby Hawk versus Zoro fight. I feel like that's guaranteed in this arc at this point because I don't. Is he actually in the lineup? It looks like he is, but I'm gonna just double check. Where's the lineup? Yeah, he is in the lineup. He's right beside Stussy and Lucci. So he is there in the lineup, and this is very interesting because I want to see what they end up doing here if we're gonna get that fight, and will because obviously Zoro is trained with Mihawk, so we will see the actual gap between the strongest warlord and his clone, and maybe those gaps persist within the warlords, like in terms of this could big up Boa, right? Because if we assume, right, people say in this arc that, oh, this Boa, this like child Boa version is strong, but they're nowhere near the levels of the real Boa, then you're like, then you've up Boa's standards a lot, and I think that's gonna happen with Mihawk here. We're gonna have Zoro struggle a bit against this, or maybe not. Maybe this is where he's gonna show off what he learned at Wano. We'll get that Ryuma Grave flashback and different things like that. There's a lot to be said and a lot to be done with this. I'm very excited. Obviously, I wanted the Kaku fight, but he handled Kaku very well. I think he's just chilling now. He's just getting used to his new power. Will we get clarification on like the Grim Reaper sort of stuff we saw? Will that be covered? I don't know. Will that be for Elbath? Will that be for later? And there's a lot to be said because you could argue he only has 2 more opponents left in the series, unless like the Gorosei counts, so maybe 3. So what, or like realistically, what order do we think that's going in? I think it's more like, wait, what? It's probably going to end up being surprising. Like it's probably going to be like Mihawk, the Gorosei, and then Shiryu or something. Because obviously I have this new idea where I think like Blackbeard's going to take out Emu, and that's going to be like a big shock or something. And I don't know why I really like that idea. Like just Blackbeard himself just putting the whole world into chaos by taking out Emu. Like maybe Luffy's fighting Emu and it's a really difficult fight, and he goes and Emu gets the best of him and he's about to take him out, and Blackbeard just like puts his hand up and completely engulfs Emu in darkness and just bam, you know what I mean? And completely the world turns to absolute darkness and it's just pure chaos. You know what I mean? And I don't know how I got on this topic from Zoro, but I just ramble. That's all I'm at, you know what I mean? But this chapter is giving me a lot of ideas. And if we look again at the new Stussy design, if I do that while we're here, just have a quick look at that again. It definitely has wings, but it has blood as well. So are we gonna get to see like a vampire fruit? Is this like a vampire Stussy? How did they? Because like you could say it's like literally the devil fruit, but I don't think they're gonna do like, oh, it's the demon fruit. You know what I mean? I think it might even be the demon fruit model vampire or something, or model Dracula. That'd be some cool twist on it. You know what I mean? And I'm interested to see where it goes. Also, with Kuma climbing the red line, which I haven't talked about at all yet. What is he aiming? What is he aiming for? Because obviously there's three parties involved in this whole situation. We've got Bonnie, we've got Kuma, we've got Dragon, and we've got Vegapunk. But Vegapunk seems to know a lot, whereas Dragon knows shit. And I don't know why he knows nothing. Maybe he knows now. But the problem was, here's what I think happened, right? Vegapunk told Dragon what Dragon needed to know about Kuma. But I feel like he should have placed it better, right? Because we should have had that conversation after Kuma disappeared, right? Where Dragon was a bit more edgy. Because maybe we can say, oh, this happened a bit after or whatever. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense what he's trying to tell Dragon. Because what else does he have to divulge? It's very interesting though. Maybe he knows a lot about the Void Sentry, different things and all that. And I'm interested to see what Kuma does. Because Kuma is up there with 2 other absolute fantastic characters and behemoths. And if you think about it, out of all these 2 characters, 2 of them were robots, and then Fisher Tiger is think of the power this man must have had. Like, just to climb the red line. Like, this feat has only been done by robots. Like, that alone must put him, like, in the top tiers if he's able to do that. Survive, because we've seen that security system. Unless that was just put there after. But I doubt it, because the giant robot stuff happened, like, 400 years ago or something. So it's like Fisher Tiger's stocks have risen so high. Can we just talk about that for a bit? He must have been one hell of a captain. Like, The fact Arlong was so weak when serving under Fisher Tiger is a shock to me, bro. Because Fisher Tiger, honestly, I could see him being like top 25, top 20, like even higher, really. Because, like, this is the only other time we've seen a character do this is two robots. So this has to mean something, boys. Like, this has to be an artificial way of building up Fisher Tiger stocks, which I really enjoy, right? And obviously, we have that idea of Inherited Joy Boy, the whole Inherited Joy Boy's will and stuff. And with Fisher Tiger potentially being like that other person who could have done it, you know, that's the thing I love about this story, is that the way it makes me feel is that, like, Luffy was not guaranteed to be Joy Boy. I feel like every other person could, there would, if you have a devil fruit, you have a possibility of being that Joy Boy. It's not just limited to the rubber fruit or the real imagination fruit, because we see every fruit can be altered with imagination. Think of Law's fruit. That's crazy versatility. Think of Bonnie's fruit even simulating some of the Gum Gum fruit's abilities. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be said about it, and I wonder how he's going to tackle it. And I know Fisher Tiger didn't have a devil fruit, but I think it was his way of symbolizing how strong Fisher Tiger was, that he could do a feat that maybe only Joy Boy and some robots could do, and he is taking on the actual Joy Boy's will without becoming him, and doing what Joy Boy would have done by freeing the slaves and being such an absolute G. You know what I mean? Like, Fisher Tiger, I respect it because his feats now are crazy, and it was at the beginning, but the fact now that, like, we see who else has done it is just two robots. He's a person. He's got blood. He's got flesh. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's a crazy feat for a character like that. And I'd be interested to see if we ever get to see a flashback of him fighting, how they're gonna have him perform, and what they're gonna have him do. I would personally love to see that, but hey, I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't really know what Kuma's at though. Like, is he attacking Marijois? Because surely if he was attacking Marijois, Dragon should know about it. So is this just something Dragon wouldn't agree with? Like, that's the problem. I have no idea where this is going with Dragon. Because Dragon should have known this, but he acted shocked, right? So this is obviously something Vegapunk did without Dragon knowing. But when did this occur? Like, maybe I missed a panel. Did they get that flashback they have where they talk about Kuma, and we get to see his full face, by the way, which I really enjoyed. Full face Kuma was some action I can never, like, I've never seen full face Kuma before, because we got the cap and we got different things. But I have to say, he looks like a baller. The glasses really suit him, oddly enough. Really chat. Oh, I love the design, bro. Love the ears. But I just don't get why Dragon doesn't know anything about this, which is interesting. Like, what could this be that Dragon could not know? Would Dragon have acted on this information too early, so they needed to bide their time, and maybe Dragon will find out after the fact? Or is this about Emu? Did Vegapunk know about Emu, and this is like he's going to attack Emu and, like, kind of trigger him to do something that he needs to be done before, like maybe drain the 16 heavenly arrows, or drain the defenses so Dragon can do something, and he's just not telling Dragon. See, this is what I want to know. These are the questions I need answered. You know what I mean? With this sort of stuff. And how is Luffy going to play into all this? Like, how... Obviously, someone has to be in danger for this to work, because Luffy would get involved otherwise. So I feel like what's going to happen is, like... Maybe what will happen is Dragon shows up here, obviously, or shows up wherever Kuma is, right? Gets killed. Kuma's going to eventually make it to Egghead this arc. We know that's going to happen at some point. And Dragon's going to be there. And we're going to get some Dragon lore, we're going to get some Kuma lore, and that's going to be all cool, right? And he asks Luffy to help with his cause or something, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just like, maybe he's a lot more aloof than we actually think, and he's like, oh, well, you've chosen your path, you do you, I'll do me, right? Because maybe he doesn't know as much as I'm letting on. Because if I was Dragon and I knew this was the quote-unquote sun god fruit, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you do you. I'd be like, please help me. I will like help you in any way I can to achieve your dream after you help me, right? I'd be like down, being like, I need some help, bro. Please, I'll give you a cup of tea. Please, just help me out, bro. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff. But obviously that's not what he's about. He's doing something different. So it'd be interesting to see, maybe he denies Dragon and then it turns around and something to do with Elbaf. He needs to go and do it, and then so we get him coming back to Dragon. So that's how we're gonna tie it all in together. But I'm excited. I really am, to be honest, with the upcoming arcs and the upcoming chapters. I don't know, man. I just every single week this story is just getting so good, and I can't wait for more. I have to be honest. I am so excited to see where this story will go.